You look like the Cheshire cat. No. You look like the cat that just ate the bird.
Oh,
So I think the
What
meeting
time is it there, Mike?
now.
it's 3 a.m.
Oh my God.
Yeah. You've been a real trooper. You really have.
Well, thank you.
Yes, you have. Okay, so I have to press continue because it says the meeting's being recorded. So you have to press continue to get that off of you. Okay, we're almost there. Hi, Mr. Ovadia. Nice to see you.
Press continue. I don't have press continue.
You didn't get one of those signals that said
It
this?
says-
Good evening.
Recording.
The police chief. And hi, Robert Barone the third. You're in their Top Gun
Hi, Mayor.
seat. Yeah. Okay. So it's 6 o'clock. Hi, everyone. So nice to see everybody tonight at 6 p.m. I'm going to call the regular meeting of the City Council, Town of Atherton to order, October 20th, 2021 at 6 p.m. May I have the roll call, please? Oh, well, wait a minute. It says Pledge of Allegiance first. Okay. Shall we do the Pledge of Allegiance?
Of course.
You have to, because it's on the agenda.
Yeah.
That's why. That's the reason.
We have to. Okay. I pledge allegiance
To the
to the
flag
flag
Of the
of the
United States of America.
and to the
And to the
republic
republic for which it
stands,
stands, one nation, under
God,
God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
liberty
Thank you.
for
Thank
you
you all
and
very
me.
much. Okay. Anthony, roll call, please.
Certainly. Councilmember Hawkins,
Present.
Councilmember DeGolia,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitmer,
Yep.
Mayor Lewis.
I'm here. And that's just four of us. We've got a missing man in our formation right
A
now.
missing woman.
A missing man, missing woman, a missing member. And that's what happened with George Schultz's flyover of Stanford a week ago when he had from Miramar, the big fighter jets come up and they did the peel off for the missing man for his funeral ceremony at Stanford University. And that created a big ruckus on our next door online. People go, what's going on? We're being invaded. All these big planes
Well,
flying
maybe
over.
we should price that for Mike.
Yeah. I'm not dead, guys. Okay.
He's just MIA for a while, I think, All right. So speaking of Mike, because we're just going to roll right into our item number 3 in presentations, and that is in recognition of Mike Lempris, former vice mayor, most recently, and a 7-year council member. He was elected in 2014 and just resigned last week. So, Mike, we have a little plaque for you, and I'm going to show it to you. Oh, it's really heavy. Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
It's got a big gavel.
You got to hold it up a little.
Hold it up a little.
No, there you go. That's got it. You got it.
Do I have it now?
Yep, that's good.
Okay.
Why don't you hold it there for a few minutes?
Let me see my arms are.
Yeah, hold it over your head. Hold it over your head, push
So
it up. And
what
push
it
down.
says is that in appreciation for your dedicated service to the town of Atherton, council member from November 2014 to October 2021, and you were mayor in 2017. So I'm going to ship that to you so you can hang it in your Parisian, atelier and, be very impressive for all your friends. But seriously, for you to resign with only one more year, you have to have a very, very good reason. And of course you do. You have a very, very good reason. And although you will be missed, I know you're going to have a wonderful time. I've really enjoyed working with you these past 7 years. I think your perspective, the perspectives that you've brought to council on issues, they have always stimulated good discussion. Not always, I know that you felt sometimes you didn't get the outcome, but I felt that we compromised in lots of ways also. But anyway, my heartfelt best wishes to you and Steph and Fiona. Okay. And I
Thank
know
you.
other people want to say something too. Just jump right in there. I'm not going to call in your name. Rick, Bill.
Sure. Mike, I appreciate everything you've done. I think you've added a heck of a lot of value to the council. And, you're an upstanding guy, both, in your private life as well as in your professional life here working with us. Your ideas are great, and I appreciate it, your camaraderie. So I will gonna miss you a lot. But I wish you the best, and if you do come back this way instead of going to Idaho, it would be great to see you again.
You might not
Great.
want to do California taxes.
Thank you, Bill.
Well, I just want to add, I agree with everything that was said, that you always approached issues in a very thoughtful and considering way so that you would balance the issues and you'd press hard to ask the questions on issues that you weren't sure of. A lot of people just let things go, but you really pressed in, and there were lots of very thoughtful issues that you brought up that I don't think we would have considered, but for your effort to reach into the subject and pull it out, which I know has a lot to do with both your professional approach to your business life and the issues around you, but you really brought that to the council. And it was a real benefit to the council and to the residents of Atherton. And I think the residents of Atherton benefited because of your participation here. And I really appreciate you having been on our council, and hope to work with you again.
Thank you, Rick.
Diana, yes.
I've known you the least amount of time, but I can say that I've learned a lot from the time that I have known you. And I really want to sincerely thank you for your service. I've learned a lot. Thanks.
Thank you, Diana.
And city manager,
I would just like to echo everything that the council has said, but Mike, I would like to ask the council if we can not mail that plaque to you. Instead, if they would authorize me to hand deliver it to you, that would be great.
I think that's a good idea.
And
I think
George
that's a
needs a
good idea.
security
Cost
personnel.
may be about the same.
yeah, and Anthony could accompany you as your security personnel.
Well, he'd have to carry the bags.
Yeah, no problem.
It's really heavy. Oh, Mike, you got room in your flat, don't you?
Yeah, although I actually hope that you guys will hold it there until I come back so I can come pick it up. That would be my
That would be nice.
wish.
Okay.
Could I, Madam Mayor, just very
Sure.
quickly?
Make
Just
some
very
parting
quickly, would love to say thanks really for to the people of Atherton first for giving me the honor of representing them on the council, which is an honor that we all have, and it really truly is a privilege. Also to thank the staff and the council for all the help and friendship and support over the last years, and it's been a joy, and I will miss it, but I will watch you from over here.
And you won't have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to log us on. Anyway, thank you. All right. Well, best to you and to Fiona and to Steph, and we'll stay in touch. Okay.
Don't you have a proclamation?
There's no
We're gonna-
proclamation. It's
we're
just
gonna
everything that
postpone
we've
that.
got. Yeah,
Oh,
that was
okay.
it.
We want to do something.
He got the gavel. He got the gavel.
Yeah.
He got the gavel, and it's just not a framed piece of paper. So,
Well, I think that's
Okay.
better. Yeah.
all right. So we're going to move on to public comments, and maybe some
Thank you,
public may have some words. I don't know that we have any public on. Is there one? Is the 650-815-8110? Is that a member of the public, Anthony?
I don't know if it's a member of the public, but if it is and you'd like to make a public comment, you're welcome to dial *9 to raise your hand, and you will be called on and given an opportunity to comment at this time or during any item when the mayor calls for public comment.
Okay. All right.
And it looks like somebody would.
You got some raised hands?
I have
From that phone number.
I don't see a raised hand.
Yeah,
I'm
there's a
gonna ask
raised
them
hand
to-
from the 8110 phone number.
Yeah, I'm going to ask them to unmute now. So there you go.
Okay.
Hi,
Hello.
everyone. My name is Nicholas. I'm a field representative for Congresswoman Eshoo. I just wanted to echo everyone's thanks for Vice Mayor Lempris and all of your service that you've given to the town of Atherton. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Nicholas. And I'll send the Congresswoman a note, but please pass along my appreciation of your comments on her behalf.
Okay. That's nice. Yeah, thank
Will
you.
do.
Okay. Any other member of the public out there want to call in or anything? Otherwise, we will move on to our next agenda item, number 5, which is our city manager's written report. George?
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, you have the written report
Bye, Mike.
as part of the
Bye.
Hi, Mike.
part of the agenda packet. He's welcome to hang out for the rest. Oh, darn. You have the written report before you in the packet. In the interest of time, staff's here to answer any questions the council may have. I did answer a few Q&A out during my one-on-ones, and some of those were put out to the council as part of my pre-agenda email.
Any member of the council have any questions for city manager on his report, or were all of your concerns and questions answered during your one-on-one with him? Councilmember DeGolia?
I just want to thank the city manager for the inclusion of the active construction time limit report. I think it's an example of the kind of thing that Mike Lempris asked for, and I think it's very helpful, and I look forward to getting it in each packet. I think it's very valuable. It gives us a connection to seeing what goes on in the construction world. I've said in the past, I think one of the areas that we really haven't come up with any solutions as a council deals with the significant construction in the town. I get complaints from residents about it all the time. I'm sure all of us do. So I appreciate this.
Okay. Anyone else? Any member of the public have a comment or a question for city manager about his written report? Seeing none, I'll close that item, and we will go on to our consent calendar, and that would be items 6 through 16. And as you know, the consent calendar items are routine in nature and are generally considered in one motion and adopted by a single vote. If a discussion regarding a consent calendar item is desired, the member or members of the city council, public, and or staff wishing to pull this item should do that. So indicate that now, and I will ask the question. Any member of the city council have a question or on any of the consent items, items number 6 through 16? Seeing none, I'll ask any member of the public if they have any questions on the consent calendar, items 6 through 16.
Mayor, I don't see anyone else from the public on the call.
Thank you very much. So I will call Councilmember DeGolia.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar, items 6 through 16.
Okay, we have a motion. Can I get a second, please?
So
I'll
move.
second it. I'll second the motion.
Okay.
And we'll take a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Hawkins,
Present.
DeGolia,
Yes.
Widmer,
Aye.
Mayor Lewis.
Aye. Okay, so the consent calendar, items 6 through 16 has been approved. And we will go on to item number, the regular agenda items, items number 17 through 25. And the next item is item number 17, which is the city council selection of a vice mayor. And it is, I'm going to give the floor to City Manager Rodericks.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. As you know, as we just gave him a plaque as a result of the resignation of council member and Vice Mayor Michael Lempris, the council may select a replacement to fulfill his remaining term as Vice Mayor. Council will perform a city council reorganization in December at the December 15th, 2021 meeting. to select a mayor and vice mayor for the 2022 calendar year. Council can opt not to select the vice mayor at this time and sort of punt it to that particular month, which is only 2 months away. Or you could select one this evening to fulfill that 2-month time period. It's the pleasure of the council this evening for that item.
Okay, I'll bring it back to council. Does anybody have a question on what this agenda item entails and how it's been presented? Seeing no questions, I'll ask any member of the public if they have any questions about item number 17, the selection of a new vice mayor. Seeing no questions or comments from the public, I'll bring it back to the council and ask for discussion about that or a motion to not select a vice mayor at this time and put it off to our December regular meeting when we reorganize. And at that time, we will most likely have a process for the filling of the vacancy. But so any discussion on that or a motion?
Is there any reason, does anyone have a reason why we think we should have a vice mayor for the next, what is it, 2 months, I guess?
Yeah, it's like about 2 months at the most. Diana?
The only question I would have in that scenario is if by remote chance Elizabeth was sick, we need someone to lead the meeting.
Mhm.
And I would assume that that would be like this next senior person. But I don't see any, in my opinion, I don't see any reason to go through the effort of getting someone for just that short period of time, just to cover a meeting if you're sick. So just don't get sick, Elizabeth, okay?
No, I'm God. So would you like to make the motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we wait till December to get the vice mayor.
Thank you. So we have a motion from Councilmember Hawkins Manuelian to not select a vice mayor at this time and to put it off for the December meeting when we typically reorganize the council. Can I get a second for that?
I'll second it.
Okay, a second is on the floor. So I'll call for a roll call vote. Anthony?
Councilmember Hawkins,
Yes.
Councilmember DeGolia,
Yeah,
Widmer,
Aye.
and Mayor Lewis.
Aye, thank you. Okay, so we will go on to item number 18, which is the city council vacancy appointment process or election process for the current city council vacancy, including the possibility of an immediate appointment. City manager?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, along with Councilmember Lempris's resignation, he moved out of town and submitted a letter of resignation effective October 15th due to that relocation. With that resignation, the council has a few options to consider. His no longer being a resident made it effective on that date, so the council has 60 days from the commencement of that vacancy, either to fill it by appointment or to call a special election to fill the vacancy. 60 days after October 15th is December 14th, which is the end of that 60-day window. The council must decide how to fill it, that vacancy by that period of time. So you can appoint somebody this evening as one option if you can come to that consensus, or you could develop a process, which is sort of outlined in the staff report under option 9, option number 2, to send out notification to the community about the vacancy, solicit applications or letters of interest, and then interview those candidates at a couple of special meetings, and then consider those appointments at your November 17th regular meeting or a special meeting before that. That's just the process we outlined in the staff report, but it's pleasure of the council this evening. The creation of a process gives it a little more transparency and has a few more steps involved. And that concludes the staff report.
Okay. Any member of the council have questions for city manager about this item and how he's described it? Seeing none, I'll ask any member of the public if they have any questions about this item or comments.
And I see none, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I'll bring it back to the council for discussion. Yes, Councilmember DeGolia.
well, I have a question.
You You
It
can't
isn't-
dance. No.
It isn't of the city manager, but it's of you. And that is that in considering the options that we have, I'm aware that if we were to call an election, the next statewide election would be in June. So if we were going to call an election, it would be in June. Somebody would run in June and then would have to run again in November. And if I know my history, the last time that occurred was in 2008, when there was an election in June for a seat that was open, and the winner of that election would have to run again in November. And I think you ran for that seat in June, didn't you?
So let me explain what happened. The problem that we're up against right now with Councilmember Lempris's term, his term ends in 2022. Alan Carlson was the council member who
Right.
resigned in December of 2007. And so
Right.
they went to a special election in June.
Right.
I ran against Mr. Dobby, and Mr.
Right.
Dobby won. So
Right.
he got to fill 3 more years of Mr. Alan Carlson's. So he didn't have to run in November.
I didn't understand that.
Right.
Okay.
He got to finish council member Alan Carlson's 3 years. Actually, at that point, it was only 2.5 years because
Right.
June, right?
Right.
But and so I did, run in 2018, the November election, and
Okay.
won the council.
So thank you for that clarification.
Mhm.
So my comment is, I think, I don't think the cost for the special election, given that we use the statewide election, is all that great. But I do think that the inconvenience to the candidates to have to run in June and then run again in November is great. And therefore, I would prefer an appointment. But I'd like to say something about appointments, because in general, I'm reluctant to go to the appointment option, just because I am aware that appointments have been greatly used and, in my opinion, abused in the past in Atherton. The first Atherton council was all originally elected by ballot in 1923 when the town decided to incorporate. And from my study of the history, which I've done because I've read all these newspaper articles on it, there wasn't a candidate originally elected to the council until 1968. Every one of the candidates that were elected to the council, before their term was up, if they weren't going to run again, they resigned, and they allowed the council to appoint to fill their positions. And the council did that for more than 40 years, 45 years, until one of the, and every single one of those appointees won as an incumbent when they first came up for election. So I've been proud that our council over the last several years has been originally elected. And I believe that we're the first council since that 1923 council where every council member was originally elected. So I'm hesitant to use the appointment power to bring in somebody who, will then be able to run in an election as an incumbent. But I must say, given I'm just throwing the issues out for the council, and given, the 5-month difference between June and November, it seems like a great inconvenience for candidates. So I'm more inclined to appoint, but I definitely would not want to appoint tonight. I want to open it up to the public and let anybody who is interested in being appointed submit their application and give us their thoughts about why they want to be on the council so that we can consider it.
So you're kind of leaning toward option number 2.
Option number 2, I think, is the best option. I'm just, I'm aware of the history, and I guess,
So
I'd hope there'd be a candidate that would not want to run, but I don't know if that's right to ask. I'm just saying, I'm just throwing my thoughts out for the council to consider.
I
That's what
know
I'm doing.
it is difficult. So let's let somebody else talk about what their concerns are. And Councilmember Widmer, yes.
Yeah, you know, I'd like to go ahead and appoint, and I think that, but I think we could appoint today with a known commodity. You know, as you know, I've spoken with Mr. Weiss, and he said he would be willing to come back. I don't know if he would run for reelection, but you know, he truly misses his time here. I think that when he left, you know, he was commended for his extraordinary service. And, you know, I think you said, you know, he always studied everything. He always came up with some good ideas. Fierce advocate of the community, always does his homework. You know, always kept the town's process up. I mean, he's a known commodity, and we know what he would do. So, you know, he would be my first choice for an appointment. Whether or not he would want to apply, you know, and go through the quote unquote a beauty contest again, you know, I don't think he would want to go do that. But we do know what he can do and what he has done, and he's contributed greatly to the town. If in fact that's not the right person, then I think that my understanding is Mr. Polito has said he would run out the term but not run again. He's also a known commodity to us, and I think he's a level-headed guy. So I think we have at least two people, but my choice would be to have Mr. Weiss come back, because I do think we wouldn't have to have any time to get somebody up to speed. That's my concern. And, you know, I think we've got some things going on here. We still want to continue on, and we don't want to miss a step. And I think that, you know, having two junior council members coming on board at the same time might be, you know, it might be better, more prudent to have somebody who is experienced and has, you know, 8 years of service and participation. So that's my 2 cents to you.
Thank you. Okay. Diana, do you want to weigh in on this?
Yes, I do. I too agree that we should appoint. I think that doing for all the reasons everyone already said, but I feel very strongly that we shouldn't just appoint among ourselves. I think we should do the process that was proposed by the staff report and actually bring it out to the public. So I, for one, don't know all these people. So I can say for myself, I'd have a hard time voting for someone without seeing their resume and seeing their statement. And I think we owe it to the Atherton citizens to have it be open to the public. So what I would like to see happen is we interview them online and have the people. So since the people can't vote for them, we don't have to entirely take their voice away. We can allow them to, you know, call into the call and ask questions of the candidates, and we'll get a set of candidates in front of us. And those are already going to be the same people you already mentioned. So if we mention those and whoever else comes from the community, we can allow Atherton to have a voice. So we're not completely taking away their right to vote for their candidates.
So are you advocating option number 2?
Yes, I am. I'm advocating number 2 with the procedure that the city proposed, and that also we open it for the citizens, if they care to come in and ask questions and to listen to the people who want to take the role and why they want to take it.
Yeah, I don't think that is part of the staff report. Is that?
It would be a public meeting. I believe all she's talking about is a Zoom meeting.
Just a public meeting.
Yes.
But they would not be voting on it.
Right.
They can choose to comment.
Okay, yes.
Or ask questions of the candidates.
Sort of like the Atherton Civic Interest League panels that we had to go through, which you didn't have to go through. But yes, so my feelings on this are, I understand Councilmember Widmer's sentiments, strong sentiments. And I understand your rationale and your feelings about that. I also feel that if we just chose somebody that between ourselves without giving other people an opportunity to say, hey, look at me, I think I can make a contribution for the next year. Now, Councilmember DeGolia gives a lot of credence to incumbents having a leg up to run again. That may be. And we do have some precedent where a council member, a resident said, I have no intention of rerunning, and staying. But that's, one precedent. One precedent doesn't make, something, a consistent guarantee. But I see that because politics is seductive. I mean, you get in a seat like us. I mean, look at all the power we have, really? And it's just so much fun, right? So, you kind of go, well, I just want to keep doing this. But I really feel that we need to be very careful about how we handle this process. And I think that option number 2 would provide us an opportunity to go out to the public. And I know, nobody wants to be vetted, really. And if you just appoint me, I'll do that, right? But I don't want to have a competition. I don't want a beauty contest. I don't want, that happens to me all the time in the business world, and we go up against 11 other companies vying for the same project. And it's hard, you lay yourself out there, but you got to kind of want it, and then you work for it. So there are other people that haven't been mentioned. And I think it's unfair, actually, to be throwing people's names around in this public meeting. I think that was not a very thoughtful thing to do. And it's not, I would never have done that because they're not here. I mean, are they here? Maybe they wanted to, raise their hand today, but we're not having that discussion. So at this point, I would like to make a motion that we, to fill the vacancy left by Councilmember Lempris, that we go with the process that's outlined in option number 2 to conduct a process and to appoint to fill entire remaining term through November 22. So that's the motion on the table. May I have a second? And so Diana, you're muted, but I can read your lips.
Great.
So, and you have a question or discussion on that?
I have a comment.
A comment.
I'd like to.
But I have a motion and a second.
Correct.
And you want to comment? Okay.
Yes, I want to comment.
Yes, sir.
I think this is the right thing to do for not just the reasons I stated previously, but I think it's very important that we enable people that haven't previously stepped forward to have a forum to step forward, even if we don't appoint them. I want to encourage greater participation, not lesser participation. I strongly disagree with the idea that we should just appoint somebody today without going out and opening it up to the public. There's a change going on in Atherton today as younger people move into the town. And some of those people care about what the town does and about the issues that we face, and they want to be involved. We're seeing younger people come on to our advisory committees, and I think we have a responsibility to open it up and encourage them to participate. I think it's in our interest that they do that. I recognize the concern that Bill articulates that we'll have somebody who's inexperienced on the council. That's true. But the three of us have been on this council a long time, and we have absolutely the ability to help with them to get them up to speed. I'm not saying we're going to appoint somebody who's inexperienced, but I want to encourage that participation, even if they end up getting redirected to an advisory committee. This is absolutely in our interest. It's the right thing to do. I strongly support the motion.
Thank you. I'll follow up with just one other little comment, because it's in the staff report that it is to strengthen, this would help us strengthen our community engagement with our goals alignment. And I think that what Councilmember DeGoya just said, that, outreach and getting more people engaged in the process. Councilmember Hawkins Manwellian, yes.
Yes, I wanted to say that I think if George could read the procedure, just for the record of what the procedure we're agreeing to. So we just agreed that we're going to do a procedure. And the second thing to make, is it possible in this venue to discuss the procedure and make sure there's no steps in it that we want that are not there?
I guess, yes. Sure. George, you want to
Happy
weigh
to.
in on this?
So what we would propose is that we send out notices electronically via our online, Atherton Online, on the town's website, that sort of thing, and any pounding of the pavement that you guys can do as well into your networks to get that information out there would be very, very helpful. That would go out on this Friday, assuming we have wireless at our new building when we move in there. And then the application cutoff date is proposed to be Friday, November 12th by 5 p.m. We would amend the committee application to be a council application for appointment. It asks for information on, what they've served on, what their interests are, providing a CV, that sort of information that the council would use for each candidate. And then we would schedule a potential special meeting of the city council for November 15th or 16th, with which you would interview those candidates at a public forum. As Councilmember Hawkins Manwellian noted, that there would be, the opportunity for the public to participate by, prompting questions through the city clerk during public comment, and those could be used by the council as part of the interview. And then you could either, at the conclusion of that special meeting, we would have an opportunity for the council to appoint at that point, or we could schedule it for the regular meeting on November 17th for you to have a subsequent discussion and appoint then.
Okay. Any questions, Rick?
Yeah. Why wouldn't we just have that process occur at the regular meeting in November? If I recall, when Jerry Carlson resigned, the council initiated a very similar application process, which I responded to. And we were interviewed at a regular meeting. I don't think it was a special meeting.
I'm only proposing a special meeting because we have a pretty packed agendas coming up with the next couple. And I suspect this process would be an hour, 2 hours of potential time.
I see.
We could add to the special meeting and start at 4 o'clock, or the regular meeting start at 4 o'clock or something like that. But I think it needs to be separated.
Okay. Anyone else? Any member of the public want to weigh in on this?
To make a quick point of just clarification, for ballot designations, I think if somebody does get appointed, the county weighs in on how they list themselves as an incumbent. They might need to say appointed incumbent, but that's just to share with you folks if that time comes, if they do run for office in November.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, well, we have a motion and a second. Maybe have a roll call vote, please, Anthony.
Yes, you may. Councilmember Hawkins,
Yes.
Councilmember DeGolia,
Yes.
Councilmember Widmer,
No?
Mayor Lewis.
Yes. Thank you.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we will move on to our next agenda item. Let me get that off of here. And that is item number 19. And it's to provide direction regarding the donor wall materials. I want to preface this that it is really, we're not going to get into the details. I mean, all we're about design of the donor wall at this point, but it's just the materials. And I think there were two options that were put before us before, which was a metal paneled backing or a stone material. I don't know the exact, is it in the kind of stone? Is that in the, I didn't see that, but it's some kind of a slate, I think that they're talking about. I did not see the thing. I asked to have an actual sample of the size and everything that we could look at, but that all can be dealt with in another way. But it's just I think the two types of material to get a sense from council so that WRNS can focus on one. So do we have Council Member DeGoya? Did he leave our meeting?
I believe he's there. Sometimes the background just fades them in and out.
I'm here.
Yeah.
What do you need?
I want your attention.
It got my attention. That's fine.
Good.
You
It's
just-
his turn on the grand piano.
yeah,
Oh,
The whole background just kind of fades them in and out. I think the mayor stole my thunder with respect to the staff report. It is purely just to help focus the architect and the contractor, SJ Amoroso, on the material with the subs these days, trying to get pricing and materials of various different options. It can take forever. It is taking forever. We've been waiting at least 2 months to try and get just estimates on the types of material. So if we gave them one singular thing to focus on as the option that the council would like for the donor wall, we'd probably get the information back faster and allow WRNS to then use the donor names, which we're narrowing down bit by bit. We've got about 20 names that we're still waiting on how they want to be recognized. Give them that final list, and then they can show that on a material that's been specified in a size that's been specified, and the council can consider that final design at a meeting to come.
okay. So the choices are, the question is the metal background, the metal panels, or a stone. So are we going to have some discussion? Any questions about that? Rick, and then Diana.
Do we have any price estimates on the cost?
None whatsoever at this point. They've just too scattered in terms of trying to put those together. We just haven't got anything back.
I would guarantee, and we just should know, that the stone will be more expensive than the metal. And I think the contractor had a comment about, about one or the other, and I'm not going to try to sway you by saying what I heard him say, or heard him say through somebody else.
Will somebody else say it?
Maybe.
I mean, what's the contractor's perspective? How are we supposed to know?
Yeah, the contractor should be able to give us an experienced contractor, even if he doesn't have the stone in front of him, should be able to give us just a ballpark of what the price difference is. If I recall from the last meeting, we all wanted stone. So we all wanted stone. But then we said, well, if it's 20 times more, then, we are trying to figure out, well, what is that ratio? And I don't understand why our contractors who do this can't give us at least a ballpark. I understand it depends on what's stone and what's available and blah, 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 all of that. But so I'm curious why they're reluctant to give us even that next step.
So I think it was up to WRNS to give us the estimates. It wasn't the contractor to give us the estimates.
Sorry.
Okay, so that's.
It is not. WRNS gave us, at the original meeting, they gave you an order of magnitude for the projects and said that stone could be well in the order of $200,000 and the metal would be significantly less than that. But the contractor is the one that we are trying to, we shortcut the process of bidding it to allow the contractor to, as part of the project, to provide us with the estimate. So they're the ones that are reaching out to their subs, and their subs have continually throughout this process dragged their feet on a number of things. This is just one of them.
I see. Yeah.
We could easily go online right now and get an estimate of a slab, because this is not a huge, it's not like we're doing a whole wall. We're doing just the size of that arch. Was that 14 foot or something?
14 by 10 or something?
Yeah, so even if we said 2 slabs, if we picked a stone, we could get a ballpark price. But the other thing I would suggest is that the committee that was involved in doing the aesthetics, when you do stone, you have to pick the actual stone. You don't just say to them, I want slate. You go and you pick the actual stone because there's such natural variation. And so I think we should actually pick the stone pieces.
I think that the architect has chosen a stone, which George had a small sample in his office, right?
That's
Do you
correct.
still have it?
It's in Marty's trailer because the contractor's been using it for reference for availability.
Okay.
What is it?
So, yeah, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, there was a small stone. I know, Diane, I shared it with you. You looked at it and touched it and felt
Is
it.
it the kind of light gray, like kind of a cream colored?
Yeah,
No.
No, it was grayish.
It's grayish. Now, remember, we do have a wall there that I don't know if it's real stone or if it's a tile, but it looks like a stone in that same room. That's a kind of a cream color. So we could either go with a natural stone that mimics that, or gray, of course, which would, go well with the colors too.
So we're getting really into the weeds here for design. And I think that the question before us is, do we want the metal panels or stone? And I guess we could make a decision that we would like the stone, but if it comes in to be $500,000 or something like that, I mean, something, unbelievably expensive, then, of course, we'll not do that. We won't order it up. But I think we need to give some specific direction. And
I'm not sure what we're doing here.
no, we're saying we prefer stone.
We
not
already said
metal.
that.
Yeah.
No, but
Yeah, we said that last time.
we did not make that. That
No,
was,
the council asked for pricing and specifications on the same design for both the metal in large format and then small format metal, as well as the stone in the stacked stone design that was provided. All we're asking for this evening is to narrow that down, get rid of the metal, and solely focus on the stone as the design material.
Well, I think we should focus on the stone, but I think that there should be a financial limit to what that stone could be. So, I think we've talked about perhaps the stone would cost somewhere on the order of $200,000 to $250,000. Okay, fine. As long as it can be done for that, I think that we prefer the stone. We've already said that a couple of times. The
okay, so
metal,
let's
we
take a
understand.
motion. Let's
Yeah.
take a motion and officially say that, okay?
Okay.
Would you
All right,
like to make that
I'd like to
motion?
move that we
Okay.
have the stone
Great.
for,
Mona's
Mona-
jumping up and down. She wants to say something. You're muted.
No, I think we're fine. I just wanted to make sure that we don't have public comment. I didn't see any hands raised, and I don't think that there's anyone, but before we made that motion.
Yeah, right. Okay, thank you. Okay, so Councilmember Widmer has made that motion with a financial
What
limit.
is the motion? I'm not clear. Is it 200 or 250,000?
250. Let's say 250. That's what we're getting from Atherton.
Is
now.
it 250 just for the stone or 250 for the stone, including the engraving?
Installation, engraving and everything. Yes.
Total cost of the donor wall, 250 or less.
Yes.
Okay. So it has to come back to the council if it's more than 250.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm actually gonna say it's gonna come back to you anyway, because once the architect puts together the final names in the layout with the stone as the background, you're gonna see that again one more time before we pull the trigger on it.
Well, I would like the subcommittee to engage with the exact sizing of the stone and the layout in that arch, because when we first talked about it, I had the impression that each name would have its own stone. It's been clarified that that's inaccurate. So, and I'm fine with that, but I think there are design issues that I'd like the subcommittee to deal with.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that's what we appointed them to do.
Okay,
And
so we have
let it go away
Mr.
from us.
Widmer's motion for the financial with Councilmember DeGoya's amendment to that motion for the design committee to work on the design. And so is that your second with the
Yeah,
amended? Would you
that's fine.
accept this amendment?
I'll second Rick's.
Okay, so we have a first motion with an amendment that you accept. Yes, and city manager, you have a comment?
No, just that it's still a first. We still need a second on the amended motion.
No,
Yeah.
no, Bill made the motion.
Well, Rick said.
I think it's Rick.
Okay.
Okay, do we have a roll call, please, Anthony?
Councilmember Hawkins,
Yes.
DeGolia,
Yes.
Widmer,
Yes.
Mayor Lewis.
Yes, okay. So we have some direction. George, this will streamline the process.
Yes.
We will work, the ad hoc committee will work with you and the contractor on the design and everything. Okay,
Yes.
Diana? Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Moving on to item number 20.
Right.
Right. Item number 20 is consideration of a concept plan for the train station renovation with feedback and direction. And I have to say, this is so exciting. And I just want the staff report and all the photographs and everything was just so fun and exciting. But I just want to make sure that we are looking at the concept. We're not going to get into the weeds to the actual design. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I have the boring part, that's just the staff report part. The attachment's the more exciting part. Project and funding agreement with the JPB as part of the closure of the station. The town secured $400,000 in support of the development and implementation of an initial plan by the town to provide site improvements in the maintenance and use area, which we all know is the frontage along the rail corridor to include the station. To integrate that station building into the town center. Funding by the JPB could be used for either the integration of the station building into the town center or the study and potential implementation of pedestrian access improvements between the town and Menlo Park Caltrain station. The ad hoc committee was formed. That was Councilmember DeGolia and Councilmember Hawkins-Manuelian to prepare a concept plan for the renovation of the station building and create a space within the town center where the public could view the history of the station. Attached is a report from that subcommittee. The report outlines the proposal to renovate the station with static and interactive displays related to the history of the train station in Atherton. Following the council's approval of any concept this evening, staff will prepare a request for proposal for design services to assist the town in refining the necessary improvements. Following that design, which would, I assume, have a subcommittee of the city council to help process that through various iterations. The town would then bid the construction work to complete the physical renovations. Specialty content and interior displays would be conducted by separate contract with those sorts of professionals that do that sort of thing. And there's many out there. That concludes my portion of this report. So I'll turn it over to Councilmember Hawkins-Manuelian to do the exciting part.
Can I share the screen? So let's see how I find this. Hold on.
I believe you can. I think you're a
co-host. You should be able to do it.
All right, hold on. Desktop.
Oh, we all have the report.
All right, well, if I can't get it up quick enough, because I don't want to take up our time. Hold on, let me see. Is this it right here? Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm going to try to, I think you've all seen this, but I'm going to walk through it really quick just to give you the big picture idea of what we're proposing. So that what we're talking about is this train station, and it is located in.
We can't see your screen.
You can't see my screen. Okay. All right. So sorry about that. Let me go back here.
Is this in the staff report? Because I can do it.
Yes, it is. I was just going to focus on the pictures and talk to the pictures that are in it. I was going to start with the map of the location, but let me
help out.
I think we know where it is.
Yeah, we have the staff report here.
Okay,
I
Anthony.
think we all know where it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can just direct me on if I'm where you want me to be or not.
Okay, so if you can zoom in on the top map to start.
Whoa, whoa.
No, that one there.
Yeah, this one. Okay, so the basic idea is that we were charged with figuring out what we should do with this little train station. It's located in a highly visible place. When people drive down Fair Oaks, right there to the left, because it turns, they face it. So it's highly visible. To the right of that is parking. And I'd be pointing to this with my cursor if I could somehow share my screen. Anyway, to the right of the train station is available parking. So, and we believe that because of its location, its high visibility, it's a perfect sort of place to bring pedestrian traffic to our new city center and to also have a place that people go to, like a community place and a destination. So if you go down to the next picture in that report.
On that page.
Yeah.
That's the color picture.
Yeah, the color picture of the station. So
Aw.
this is our beautiful station. And it's although it's not on the historical register officially, it is of historical significance and it is beautiful. And so the intention is to keep the building as it is and change the building very little and just put stuff inside it. So what we're proposing is to take this building and turn it into a mini train museum that's open to the public. So inside this building, we'll have a set of displays that are audio visual. So there'll be a video display, there'll be some freestanding panels, and down the center will be a 3D model train display that will show the history of the town. So you want to go to the next one?
Can I ask a quick question before
Sure.
you said down the center? Now, down the center right now are those original benches.
Right, those will be used our intention is to keep them. Where we will put them, I don't know just yet.
Yeah.
The reason why they're not in the drawings, which I will get to, is because they're double-sided. So I was originally going to have, we were originally going to put them on each end of this display or use them as benches for the video display. But because they're double-sided, you're going to have half the people facing the wrong way. So we'll have to find another place to put them, but there's plenty of room in there that we will keep them. So we will keep them somewhere. And when I show you some of the later pictures, you'll see that in the 1930s, they had them on either side of the front door, which I will show you a little bit farther down. But the idea is to keep everything we have and to turn it into a place that you can go into. And around it on the outside, you'll see over there on the left, you have the historic clock. We have some nice old light fixtures. We can make seating areas there. So we'll use the outside in the inside. What you can't see here, there's also a display in the back that was used for probably train schedules. We can retrofit that. So I'll get further into some of the pieces that we'll retrofit, but the big idea here is that we're going to take this existing building, renovate it, and then use the inside as a train museum.
Well,
So-
are you going to take the train side, the track side is open?
Yes.
The way I read it, you were going to move, you were going to rotate it. Is that correct?
Yep, you led me right into it. So if you can go to the next photo, there is going to show you that you see that it's open to the train side. So what we're proposing is we take the probably, if possible, even the very materials on the other side and just flip them on this side. And then we'll make the other side have a door. So the side that is facing City Hall will have a door. And you'll see in some of the later, or some of the pictures I'm going to show later, in the 1930s, there was a door on it. So we'll just mirror the same kind of door that was there in the 1930s on the other side. So this side will be closed off and then the entrance will be flipped around.
So Diana, I recall from a report on this when we were looking at closing the train station, and I might have been mistaken, but I thought that there were some structural issues with the building. Maybe George could discuss that. Is part of it wood rot, or did I recall wrongly on that?
There may be some issues related to roof rot, wood rot around the corners and along some of those walls. That has yet to be investigated, and it would be as part of the design and construction process.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Yeah, so
The last question, Diane, well, last question for this. Are you intending to close this even when you move it over? Because if you want to secure it, I understood that we were going to secure it in some manner.
yes, it'll be all closed in with French doors on the other side facing the town.
Okay, thank you.
We'll ideally reuse the same materials or replicate them if we can't reuse them. I don't know how the actual construction's done.
Yeah,
So
I think that's getting into the weeds right now,
Right.
but the
So,
whole
yeah.
concept is this, train, just big broad brushes. Okay.
okay, so so the first step is the renovation of the building itself, and that will an RFP will go out. They'll fix any structural issues like George just said. We will shore up the electric and the power to the thing, and we will weatherize it. We will install a camera so that the police department can watch it on a camera. And the way it will work is that it will be closed and it will be opened by the person who opens the the city hall. So when they open the town center, they'll walk over and unlock this. It will have the same hours as the town center. It'll be unmanned. People will just go in and walk in on their own, and there'll be displays. The videos will be on motion sensors or on buttons. So it doesn't require, at this point, it doesn't require, unless we get a committee of residents who want to become curators. It will be a self-sustaining sort of thing. So the first phase is weatherizing. So you want to go down to the next pictures. So that picture, you'll see that, as I mentioned, it's open on all, it's glass. So even if you enclose it, it's all glass, so what we're proposing is that we take a design approach where we have things that are freestanding in the center instead of hanging things on the wall. There's only 2 small spots where you could have a display case or memorabilia or posters or something like that attached to the wall. Most of it is all glass. So what we'll do is keep all the natural light, and we're proposing that we do 3D and walk around displays. So if you scroll down. So the content, where we'll get the content for this is from our own city archives, from Sacramento archives, from the Sacramento Rail Museum, and there's various other history organizations and curators that we'll get the content from. And we've already pulled together some little samples of it, but we've just touched the surface of what's out there. Here you're seeing in the picture on the right, those are the existing things that could be turned into exhibits. So scroll down. I'm trying to go fast because I think you guys have read this. So
Yeah.
so the tenant, go to this picture. So the tentative idea here is that we would propose a design. And again, this is not the design. This is just a very, very rough draft to get us started. And it will go out to bid with professional designers who will actually design something. So it may end up looking quite different from this, but this is just to give you an idea of what it could be. So we propose here that we have 3 different types of displays. We have a freestanding display on the left. In the center, we have a 3D display that has a train track with little model trains and actually full dioramas, hopefully, of each of the eras. And on the right, you're going to have a video screen with some sort of benches in front of it that people can watch video. So let me look at, can you scroll down to the next thing, the next image? So let's look at each one really quickly. On the left-hand side, and this is the Fair Oaks side, we could have 3 freestanding displays. The idea here is pre-trained. So the whole building tells the history in its layout. So if you start on this end, it's going to have the Native Americans that lived here, the days of the settlers, the stagecoaches, the beginning of the railway, the big 4 families that came down. And then, so that's what's going to be on these panels. And that you can walk all the way around them. They're depicted as being right up against the wall, but they will be up so that you can walk around them. So they're 2-sided panels, and I can show you an example of what those kind of panels look like. You want to go down to the next picture for me? Oh, and here's an example of a display from Redwood City, I think it is. And this is the stagecoach days and some of the history of the stagecoach. So go down. And this is an example of the kinds of displays I'm talking about that are freestanding. So they can be, this is from the Redwood City Museum. They're freestanding. You can have them out of any kind of material. They can be cut out people. They can be displays like this one with pictures and maps and whatnot. But the idea is freestanding. So the people can go around it and they're not attached to the wall. So you know the next picture? So in the center of the museum is our masterpiece, which is going to be the 3D train display. Now, this doesn't depict it correctly, but just to give you an idea. So it's a train display. Can you go to the next one? And the idea is that on this display, you will start at one end from the very beginning of the train. So here we have 1868 going all the way up to 2020 when the train station stopped. Here you're seeing just engines. So what we're really visualizing is an actual diorama. So the first one would be the beginning of the train station, and it would have a tiny Fair Oaks station and a little stagecoach. Then in the middle, you get to the eras of the various iterations throughout time. It's of how the trains change, the community changes. You get to 1985 era when you've got the heyday of the commuter era, and you'll be able to see, the train station, which I'll show you later, changes over time. The trains change over time. And then we will write about how the community changes over time. So we'll track those three things over time. So go on to the next one. I don't know if go back a tiny bit to the list of the timelines. So just to give you an idea of the timeline, it starts from 1860 to 2020. There's various key events that have happened. How many stations we do on that train is a subject of financing, and whether we choose to do, after researching this, after this report even came out, the whole idea of doing the dioramas like they have in Menlo Park train station and other train stations with the whole little models. I'm doing just a few of those, I think would be super powerful. But these are kind of the what's on the screen here are the different key phases of it. You can scroll down. I'm trying to go fast. There's some early, so let me show you some examples of what we're talking about so you get the flavor. These two last pictures were early trains. So that would be, picture that. And at the diorama, I'm picturing we would have like a train engine model, and then you'd have a passenger train. So a train engine and a passenger train. And then you'd have a little replica of the station at that time. So here's the very early trains, go down. Then you have the big four families that settle on the peninsula. This is from some Redwood City Museum, I think, and they talk about how those are the train families. Go down. Here's our Fair Oak station. So when it first started, it was just a flag stop, and this is what it looked like. And there's a second picture. Scroll down, show the next one. This next one's my favorite after this. This is the Fair Oak station from our own archive. I love this picture. This is from our archives. But when we do a diorama, so you could picture, you'd make that little tiny station, and then you have a little horse and buggy so you can see what the people were like. And this is what the station was like. And we'd have a narrative about what was happening in Atherton at that time. Next one. I feel like I'm giving a slideshow for my family vacation.
I love it.
Here is it. Now it's become the Atherton station. We're now circa 1913. You notice it's got the skeleton of what is our current. All sides are empty. And so again, I would picture us making a little version of this. And now you're showing the cars of the era. You can kind of see one in the back. So go on.
And you see the benches. The benches were there.
Benches are there.
The benches are there, but be aware these dates are not necessarily accurate. The 1913, if you look at the 1913, the station says Atherton on it, but we all know that
Atherton wasn't incorporated yet.
Yeah, so we're not confident of the time, but clearly this was the station at some point, and it was early.
Yeah, so keep going.
And the benches that you see in the middle of that image are currently in the station.
Right. Yeah.
So keep going. My goal here is to show you the evolution of the station. Here we know is around when the town's incorporated, somewhere after that other one. You see the three sides are glassed in. Benches are still there. So go to the next one. Now, this is my favorite time period. This is in 1930s, we think. See the doors? Those are the doors I was talking about. We'll be putting those doors on the other side near the city center. So those will be one set of doors that you unlock once a day so people can go in. And you see here they have benches in the front. They're not the same ones, but I like that look because we will have some sort of stuff hopefully on the outside. Yeah. So go on. I'm talking fast. Here are just some pictures of different eras.
This is my mom's Irish, my mom's fresh brewed coffee and donuts. That's so cute.
25 cents. Okay, so
that must be Malcolm there buying it.
It could be. Who knows? All right, so go down. I want to look a few more. So these are out of our own pictures. So this is out of our own pictures from our heritage. Thanks to them. That's I don't know exactly when. We're going to have to, like Rick said, we don't know the times yet. But
yeah, but that's the 70s. That's John Dinkelspiel right there in the middle.
No way. Wow.
Yes, it is. It absolutely is. That's Dinkelspiel.
Awesome. All right, so keep going. We're going to walk through these real quick. So this is from the Redwood City Museum, and it's showing you a display around kind of the commuter, the height of the commuter days. So this is a kind of visual display, and show the next one.
There's my dad.
That we could have below the train. So picture that train, and then we'll have pictures like this and content like this below the train the train diorama. Keep going. Here's our station, and it says 1971.
Mhm.
It doesn't have the wings yet. There's no display. Go to the next one. Now we're in 2012, and you see the display is there on the left, and now the two wings are there. And so this is very much like it looks now. So again, as we show the progression of the station, the little models will evolve. So go on to the next one. And then here's a photo from the almanac from the final weekend of service when our train station closed down. So that would be the final stop on our central display. So the third component, so let me go on to the third component, which is a video display. Again, this is not what it's going to look like, but just to let you know, on this side, we will have some sort of a monitor and some seating with a thing that's either motion center or push button to start. There are a handful of walls. So there, like I said, there's two that will allow us to do some sort of display. So let's say someone donated some memorabilia, or we got the local train guys to give us some model trains of, additional things. Whatever we can get donated and put up. So we have rooms for that. So go on to the next image, or where are we? Oh, so I had some information about the exterior. So with the exterior, we have the town clock is there, and we have the old existing train station sign. So we could retrofit the existing train station sign with their permission to say the Atherton Train Station Museum. So with very little modifications, we can keep the same thing that's already there.
George said that sign, the original sign, has been stolen, and so we don't.
Well, that's the Atherton. You're talking about the Atherton sign, the wood thing.
Yeah, right.
I'm talking about the Caltrain or whatever it is, big red sign that's on the corner there. I don't know if we have a picture of it, but on the corner, there is an existing train station sign, and we can just retrofit that to say museum. So that will be our outside museum sign. And we may choose to replicate the Atherton wood one that goes on the building. We can decide on that. The designers can. So outside, we'll take existing pieces. We may want to add some outdoor seating areas. The construction at the building itself looks like it's probably fully access code available because it was used as a public thing, but of course we'll have to make sure it's up to date. We may, of the hardscape, the only thing that we may need to add, and I don't know for sure, is a ramp to the parking that's right next to it, but that will be determined in the RFP. All the landscaping in front that we've already designed will not be affected by this. This will just enhance it. And so we're talking about some seating arrangements on the outside. So go on to the next page. What do we have? Okay, so let's stop at the proposed budget number there. One up one. Yeah. So the overall budget for the interior and video displays is a guesstimate to be 50,000 to 150. And that's really a guesstimate because one of the things we will do is go out and seek donations from both museums and collectors and residents. And so we don't really know how much it's going to cost. This number is based on if we went out and bought trains, and I should have added earlier, we're going to do them in G scale, which is garden scale. So it's a little bit bigger. So it's not the little tiny ones that you sometimes see. It's a bigger one. And so they are readily available. They are available both for sale new and on auctions and stuff. So there will be a process of trying to get the trains made. We visited the Tiburon Museum up there, and what they did was buy models and then repainted them and put the Southern Pacific logos on. So our goal is not to be, totally accurate with the trains, but more to just give people the idea of what it was like. So if the council should want to go forward with this, we would propose 3 next steps. The first would be building renovation, which we put out to bid that George already spoke about. The second would be a bid for the displays and video. And the third, it would be to, I'm going to get to this in a minute. The third would be the formation of a committee, to a citizen committee that would allow us to reach out to the community and try to get people to donate stuff. It looks like we have at least 2 Atherton residents who are members of train clubs that I've come across in my research. So we'll reach out to Atherton residents for donations and involvement and ideas and form a subcommittee. The other last little add-on, and this is an add-on, in the future, this is for the future. As we collect these historic pictures, there's some that are really beautiful. And I would like to propose that we set them aside for the future so that we have the option to come back to the council and say, why don't we reproduce these pictures and put them up throughout our town center as art? If you go down a picture, Anthony, go down a picture. This is an example of what I'm talking about. It's a large size sepia print. This one is a collection in Redwood City where they took a lot of their historical pictures, printed them in sepia in a nice display thing, and it looks really handsome. This one is a collection of a bunch of pictures. What I'm saying is that at this point, we just agree that we're going to set some aside that we think are really beautiful. And then a later date, I'll come back to the council once the buildings are done and we know where they would go, and propose that we print some of these, frame them like this and put them out. So go back a picture. So for example, and they can be themed by the area. So this kind of a picture, this is out of our archive, an old police picture. This could be framed and put in front of the police station or on the walls in the police station. So I'm saying as we go about this project, we would collect images for future replication inside as artwork and historical displays. So that is it.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Diana and Rick. Thank you so much. This is very, very exciting. I think it really is. And you've really given us a big, broad brush, as well as a lot of the detail that of all the ideas and the conceptual designs that you're thinking about. I want to remind council that we're not completely approving every single thing that has been presented to us, but overall the conceptual plan of going forward with this, and then some of the expectations around the project. We're not approving that we're going to do the artwork in the town center, but I think it's a great idea, and we should really, kind of look forward to having that come back to council at some point for budgets. So can I get any questions from any member of the council to the committee at this point? Yes, Councilmember Widmer, of course. Yes.
So I realize we haven't gotten an architect and haven't looked at the bids and things like that, but I guess we will be doing these as separate projects, doing the first one and then coming back and looking as a project for doing the second one to decide if it's all within the $400,000, great. If we have to sacrifice something from the general fund, then we have to make a decision and budget appropriately. So we're going to do this in steps, which is what I heard you say. I don't assume we're approving the architect review yet, but I would, I'm in favor of doing the architectural review as you suggested. And I'm in favor of, rejuvenating it and turning it around so it becomes part of the Civic Center, which today, facing the other way, it is not. And if we have enough money in the $400K, then to do some of these things, and we don't need donations, that would be one thing. But if we have it and we can just do it all, I think that you've made a great presentation. So I appreciate that. But I just want to make sure that we're not spending general fund money without coming back as a separate project.
Okay, Rick, yes.
Yeah, so both to respond to that and just to add one comment to the presentation. That's exactly right. what we're proposing now is that staff do a bid to get an architect to review the structure and to propose a structural that's the structural change along what we've proposed, so that we can get a bid on what the cost is. I think that's right. George, correct me if I'm at all wrong here.
No.
But basically, we'd go out with an RFP to change to I guess we first need a little bit more specific design, but what we're not asking for any of the content, either of the models or of the photos and the images and the work that would be put into the displays. We're not asking for any of the content at all. What we would want is the the estimate to put up the windows, to repair the building wherever it needs it, and to put in the French doors, just as Diana proposed, and to build the structure for what the model would go on in the middle of the room, and the structure for the two sides at the ends where there'd be the displays.
Okay.
I don't think we're getting we're not putting it out for construction right now. We're just getting the design and the cost estimate.
I would think, Rick, it might be cheaper to do a design build.
Well, maybe it does. I'm fine for the staff to do that. I'm very comfortable with taking all of that, right? The building, doing the work on the building, fixing the building where it needs. There is some dry rot in it. It doesn't look terrible to me, but there is some dry rot in it. And there are some electrical connections that would need to be put in to enable this. But we're not putting in the cameras, for example, where it's just, if it's a design build, I'm very comfortable to authorize that.
I think city attorney has a comment here. Okay.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Lewis. I just wanted to say that the state laws regarding design build are very strict. So for a general project like this, it would have to be in excess of $1 million. So in all likelihood, we would not be able to use it for this project. The other types of exemptions are solar energy. And so I just wanted you to be aware of that.
I'm hoping it's not going to be $1 million.
Of course, exactly.
Thank you for interjecting that, because I had that same week when we were doing the Civic Center and we talked about it. But so what I just really want to get back to, all we're approving at tonight's meeting is the general concept of a railroad historical museum to be completely fleshed out as we go along. And with that, giving city manager and staff the authority to put together an RFP to go out for a contractor and a design architect to do the shell of the building at this point.
But it's more than just the shell of the building. It includes the structure for the train in the center and the displays on either end. Not the content that would go in them, but it's just structural.
I think George.
Just to clarify, yes, it would be whatever the final expectation is for the building. It may be the electrical needs, it may be something going down the center, moving the benches, whatever we want that to look like physically is what the design team would come back with as part of the architectural process. Subcommittee would work on that iteration as it goes forward.
Yeah. Council
would have to approve it. And then the next phase would be the construction of that. And then the third phase would be content.
Right. So maybe we can chop it up a little bit. So let's just look at the conceptual idea of a historical, Atherton historical train themed museum, right? I think that's the first thing. Does everybody agree that that is something that we want to have?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, I think, Madam Mayor, that, the first phase is updating and bringing
No,
the,
Council, I'm gonna cut you off right there. So excuse me.
okay, I know that,
Okay.
you do that a lot.
I'm just, because that follows the concept of what we're going to do with the building, and then within the building, and what we do in the building, or the updating of the building, that follows. So I want to just get really clear and get council approval that this train idea, and you can see that the committee has worked really hard and shown us some very exciting things. And there are a lot of train aficionados in our town. And I met one just recently. Yes, Diana.
I don't know if I should say, well, all right, before, even above what you're saying. So the question you posed is, should we even do a train station? I obviously love it. You could tell that by my presentation.
Yeah, me too.
But the
Yes.
bigger question, even above that, is we have $400,000, and I'm probably going to shoot myself in the foot for saying this. And it says it can be used for this purpose to integrate into the city center, or it can be used for pedestrian path. And I'm wondering, was there a discussion of that we're now just choosing it was the way it's listed in George's thing is A or B? Was there a meeting that I was not at earlier that said we're going to do A?
So I think the path was kind of a potential, idea to connect Atherton train station to Menlo Park. But as that was being fleshed out, it became convoluted because it's not a straight shot and it's not an easy fix. I think that is something that we should set aside. And this, we should dedicate that 400,000 to the train museum or in the surrounds there. So that.
Mayor, can I just ask a question? I know that we have a 650 still on and a Pam, and I don't know if we've taken public comment, but there may be some.
Right. The 650 is from Anna Eshu's office.
Right.
And so we're having this discussion, and so maybe I should ask if there's any member of the public want to weigh in on this, because I see Commander Larson, Robert Barone, and Chief. So Pam,
So
are you a member of the public, and would you like to weigh in on this?
Oh, she texts us no comment. So
Okay.
you're good. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. So bringing it back, yes, this shouldn't be so hard. This really shouldn't be so hard, because what we're trying to do is, agree that, yes, we go forth and conquer with the train concept. Yes.
Let me just clarify that the 400,000 was a Caltrain proposal. And the reason I believe that the staff report is the way it is that Caltrain chose to allocate the 400,000 to the train station incorporation into the town center, or changes to the train station and the pathway. They didn't want to add additional separate funding for the pathway. The concept of the pathway was always that it was going to be a much bigger deal because it requires an easement, that requires an expensive bridge to be built across the SFPUC pipeline. So it's a different issue. And in the 400,000, I am hoping will be sufficient to both address what we need in this station, but also to do landscaping. So I don't think, I wouldn't want us to use all of it on this concept. I mean, we may end up doing that. We don't know what the cost will be, but I hope that we won't have to, because I hope that we will be able to use some of that for landscaping.
Can I ask a question about the money? Is there a timeline under which we have to use it, or it goes away? Because I can see that if we dedicate it to the train station renovation and the idea of the museum, that if we didn't use it all initially, that there would be money to help maintain it going forward.
Robert, do you have any comment on that in terms of your
Enough money for that.
Caltrain?
We do have a timeline for completion of whatever improvements we are planning to do, in addition to any studies associated with the potential pathway. I believe it was 5 years from when we executed the MOU. But I can double check that with regards to the funding agreement that we recently executed with the JPB and the Transportation Authority. But the money is geared, it's not geared towards maintenance though.
Oh,
So we can use it for improvements. And as outlined, I think George actually probably copied directly from the MOU in terms of the language. And so it's to provide site improvements, including landscaping, screening, modifications to the building, and integration of the building into the town center. And so that, as Councilmember DeGolia mentioned, it could be used for screening landscaping between either the parking and the train station or the train tracks and other things. And so we do have flexibility on how to use the funds, but it's not intended for maintenance.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, good. All right. So are we ready to
2026.
say what?
February 2026 is that deadline from the contract.
I think we can get that done in time by then, don't you? Another 3-4 years? Okay. So George, tell me what I need to do. Mona, tell us what we need to do.
So we're just looking for a motion of approval of concept and authorizing staff to prepare an RFP for design services in support of that concept, returning to you in November.
I move that we authorize the city manager and staff to develop an RFP for us to approve to be sent out for the design and subsequent construction as needed of items for the train station to bring that into the civic center as anticipated.
And I'd like to amend that motion in approving the concept of a Atherton Historical Train Museum within that building.
If we can afford it.
Will you accept that amendment?
Yeah, we can go with it, but we're doing these as separate projects, Madam Mayor. We just talked about that.
The RFP, when we create it for design services, would be created in support of the concept of a train station museum.
So it's hand in hand. It's not different. It's not separate.
Okay, fine. Then I accept the amendment.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second on the floor. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Wait, can I have a clarification?
I don't see you. I think
Well, then, if you don't see me, can I not make a clarification?
It's like a burning bush.
I just asked the question.
You're teasing.
You should have some fire there, Rick.
I should. I don't have that.
What are you doing?
So here's the question. I just want to clarify that the subcommittee will continue to work with staff on the language of the RFP.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, I don't know. I've got real issues with that. No, of course.
Okay.
All right. So
Councilmember Hawkins,
Yes.
DeGolia,
Yes.
Councilmember Woodmer,
Aye.
Mayor Lewis.
yes. Oh my gosh. I think this is really great. This is so exciting. And we definitely do. There you are. You pop up like a little bunny.
I am a little bunny.
By the way, I want to just point out that in that police picture, the officer on the left looks a lot like Steve McCauley.
Yeah, it isn't.
We could put that picture up again and we could look at
Steve
it.
would laugh.
No. Let's move on to item number 21, okay? Which is the town center update and authorizing changes to the city manager's change order limit. George?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Marty's not here this evening. He's very, very busy with the town center project for our anticipated move-in of admin this week. But at your June 19th, 2019 council meeting, you authorized the city manager to approve individual change orders or amendments to the contract up to an aggregate amount of 2 million. However, no singular change order could exceed 250K without separate approval by the city council. If the aggregate of change order ever reached 2 million, the city council directed that it shall review and set a new threshold for approval by the city manager. The staff report outlines the numbers of change orders we've seen so far and the aggregate amounts that are within each portion of the project, the town part and the library part. And they're still below that threshold, but they're very, very close. So we're suggesting that you amend the aggregate limit to 2.5 million to expedite the processing of remaining change orders that might be out there and not change the individual change order limit of 250K. So any singular change order above that amount would still come to the city council for approval. That concludes the staff report.
Thank you, George. So does any member of the council have a question for George at this time, clarifying the reason why we are requesting this at this time? Seeing none, is there any member of the public have a question or comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council. Any comments, discussion?
I'd just like to propose that we amend our previous agreement.
Call for a motion. Are you making a motion?
Yes,
Good.
I am.
Thank you.
So that we raise the city manager's aggregate authority level to 250K.
No,
No.
2.5 million.
2.5, yeah,
Right, and keep the individual
the same.
the same of 250K. Okay.
Second,
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can I have a roll call vote, Anthony?
You can, Councilmember Hawkins,
Yes.
DeGolia,
yes.
Widmer,
Aye.
Mayor Lewis.
Aye, motion passes. George, just get it done. No.
Working on it.
I heard rumors that
Don't spend any money.
you're moving in tomorrow?
We are staff, admin staff on the bottom floor begins their transition over tomorrow. We're very excited about that. We're all boxed up here. So it's very hard to do a lot of things. Yep, there's a box. Anthony's got one in his hands.
Oh.
So we'll be closed to the public on the admin side this Friday. And then on Monday, we'll reopen and the public will have access off of Fair Oaks in that Fair Oaks parking lot.
Oh,
The
boy.
following week, we'll do that whole operation again for building, planning and public works. And their portion of these temporary trailers will close. They'll shut down Wednesday, Thursday and Friday to accomplish that.
Oh.
And then probably, what is that? 1, 2, 3 weeks after that, in mid-November, the police department will go through that same exercise. And then things will start being knocked over and shuffled around in the civic court as we start that transition. And then in December, it's anticipated that the library will shut down in its entirety for the entire month of December as they start boxing up all their circulation materials and everything else in their buildings and transition over into their new facility in December to open up in January. So we are anticipating that the City Council Subcommittee of Mayor Lewis and Councilmember Hawkins Manuelian, we've talked about a ribbon cutting ceremony to occur on Saturday, December 11th. And we'll start to put that word out to the community for that ribbon cutting. It's just on the admin side of the building because the library will be closed and in transition. But the site will look dramatically different at that point in time with the tear down of the police building and a few other things. So it's very exciting times.
When are we going to start some of the improvements in the park?
Once we get all of this off our plate.
Yeah, that's another discussion.
As you moved out and we get rid of the trailers, we said we were going to start that.
Well,
So I just, you know.
Definitely.
It's out there for sure.
Someone has said something in the chat.
That was just Robert and I think, chatting.
Oh, okay, good. Okay. Okay, going on to item number 22.
Wait, before we leave that item, I have a question for George, which is, when will the trailers be removed from the park, assuming that admin staff move out on the time frame that you just outlined this week?
I think Marty's looking to have those removed the last week of October.
Okay, great.
No, Robert, is that different? Did you get something different?
I think the likely move at some point in November. We're looking at moving out next week, the end of next week. So the end of October is a little too quick.
Oh, yeah, that is the end of October. That's next week. Sorry, they'll still be in the buildings.
We'll still be in the building. So I think that was on a previous move date. So we're looking, I think, at some point near the tail end of November is the likely target for that.
Maybe after Thanksgiving.
After Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
They've got to be emptied out. I forgot. They've got to be emptied out of everything we've added to them before the trailer companies will take them back.
Yeah.
We've got to disconnect all the electrical, the plumbing, and all those other things, as well as remove the awnings we put on, all the signage, all of the technology improvements. And we put up cabinets in the break rooms for storage of materials and refrigerators and things like that that aren't going, as well as getting rid of all the furniture that we're not taking over there. So
Yeah, so we anticipate about a month or so to take care of that stuff. So
Yeah.
Good update. Thank you all. Thank you all. So moving on to our next agenda item, number 22, our response to the grand jury report, building greater trust between the community and law enforcement via the RIPA Act, the Racial and Identity Profiling Act. And are we going to let our chief take the lead on this, George, or are you going to summarize?
I'll give a brief introduction and then we can turn it over to him in his Barney Fife outfit from 1913, I think in that photo. On July 27th, 2021, the grand jury released that report, Building Greater Trust, as the mayor articulated. The purpose was to confirm law enforcement agencies countywide are fully aware of the requirements of RIPA and gathering and reporting requirements, and have implemented plans to begin gathering that information starting on January 1st of 2022. The town is required to respond to all findings and recommendations no later than October 27th at a public meeting, and it has to be approved by the city council. Opportunity for public comment. The details of that analysis are in the staff report. The chief is here to answer any questions the council may have on how they're implementing it. There was a couple of questions that came up during some council one-on-one conversations about a clearer definition of what exactly is bias-free policing. What's our anticipated cost of compliance, as well as how we're filling out data, the data entry. Is it going to be manual? Is it going to take time when we're actually doing ticketing, gathering information? How's that actually going to work? So the chief can articulate some of that on the phone this evening, but the attached reply has been prepared by the city for the city council's consideration. We essentially agree with all the applicable findings. And for each recommendation, we note where the town is in its implementation of those best practices. So, Chief.
Hi, Chief. You can unmute yourself now. I want to just make a point that I think it was almost a 90-page response from our police department, from page 49 to page 136 in the staff report. Chief, you're on.
I'm sorry, I missed that, Mayor.
Well, I just wanted to recognize the amount of paperwork that you put together for this response.
Well, as you can tell, the civil grand jury did a deep dive into this topic, and it's an important topic. They produced a very good report. This all started back in 2015 when the state of California brought into law the RIPA Act. And you might be wondering, why is it taking 6 years to get to this point for us? It was a huge undertaking for all agencies statewide, and they started with the large agencies like CHP and others to start to work through the system and work out the bugs. An agency of our size is required to start our RIPA reporting January 1, 2021, and I'm very pleased to report we started a committee back in the spring headed by the commander, and I'm very pleased to report that we are well ahead of the curve of the requirements. We've been working with the DOJ closely to implement our RIPA procedures. We've developed policies and implementation and training All of our folks have been trained in RIPA. We recently completed a contract with our RIPA entry vendor. It's called Veritone for $2,500 for a year. And it allows us to leverage smartphones already issued to all of our officers to quickly enter the required RIPA data after the conclusion of each traffic stop or each contact. And we fully accept all the findings in the report. And I'm also pleased to say that for all the recommendations, we've already complied with all of those, and those that we have not, we will by the end of this month or the end of next. And we are fully ready and complete to start our RIPA entry. My plan is to report to council within the first quarter of RIPA. And as you can imagine, it's going to be a very good tool for law enforcement executives to ensure that we are bias-free policing, that we aren't profiling, and that we aren't racially profiling. As if you recall, we've been able to track our racial profiling data through our citations, and I've been reporting on that as well to ensure that we are not profiling, and that data show that we weren't. So with that, I'll stop and take any questions that you may have.
Okay.
I've got a question, Madam Mayor.
Yes. Yes.
So on these RIPA reports, Chief, I think it would be good if perhaps, quarterly or semi-annually, the council could see those as either part of a staff report or have George include them in his Friday email just to see them.
I agree, and I think
I'd be interested in seeing it.
What would those reports?
Yeah, I think I'm not exactly sure yet. The RIPA board for the state has been working on with DOJ on exactly what those reports will be. I've not seen a draft report, but my plan in talking with George would be, since it is new, report on the first quarter, report mid-year, and then of course an annual report. And then based on your feedback, we may want to just go annual at that point, or whatever interval you would like.
So there's no, is there a protocol set up at this point at how often you have to make these reports, or?
Supposed to be monthly, according to it's monthly, and the grand jury report said monthly reports.
Yeah, it could be monthly, and again, as this is new, I think monthly might start to be too often. Okay. But again, in the grand jury recommendations they're wanting regular reports to council on our RIPA process, which we've been doing, and then they ask for different meetings with council, public meetings, which we can certainly incorporate that in one of our community meetings that we typically have once or twice a year.
Commander Larson, do you have anything to add to this?
Well, I was just going to add the report shouldn't be a problem. So with our vendor Veritone, with their software, they're actually able to help us generate these reports. And we actually go live with Veritone January 1st is when we are required to start collecting our data. So if we wanted to do a monthly, we wouldn't have that ready till February of 2022 would be our first one. Because right now we're in the testing phase, we're learning, we're growing. And we're currently in the process of getting our DOJ connection up. So the software will share with DOJ to automatically send them that information. And so, yeah, February 2022 would be when we could get that first report set up.
And do you know how lengthy that report will be?
I haven't seen one yet. For the amount of data that the officers have to put in for each stop, it's pretty cumbersome. So there's the potential for it to be a lengthy report unless they just do check boxes and it shows each person and how they identify and all that stuff and all the perceived data. So I haven't seen the report yet, but I could try to get a test copy if that's something we'd be interested in.
So would every city, every jurisdiction, I mean, like City of San Mateo, who is the largest city, and Redwood City, I mean, with 60,000 plus residents, would it be the same for us as for them?
They have to collect the same data, yes.
Mm-hmm. And make the same reports.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Diana, did you have a question?
I have two questions,
Okay.
actually.
Mm-hmm.
On the data collection, first, I thought the application was really good and I love the way it worked with the little things. Is that customizable? And the reason I'm asking is, do we call out if it's something that was hit off of our cameras? Is that one of the items that you check off on that list?
I believe so part of it is how we do receive the call. So if it was a hit from the ALPR cameras, that would be generated within that report. How it would record that I'm not sure.
So you can't customize the app, just have the person check it off to say it was a camera hit and then the rest.
No, that would have to be something that the officer would fill out in the narrative of their report.
But I'm wondering how relevant that piece of data is and what implications it would have. My second question is one of their requirements was to create accounts, a board, I think they called it, to review the data. And they gave the name of police organizations and academics and whatnot. And we listed that we were choosing to do academics. Have we identified who the academic source is that's going to review our data for us as the community involvement part?
As far as I know, we have not identified. Or go ahead, Chief.
No, I'm just saying, he's like, the commander's correct. We have not at this time.
Well, I do know this math professor at a local university in Atherton that we might want to ask.
Is she?
Well, we'll take all offers.
Is she happen to be a council member?
Yes, he is. I'm talking about Bill Widmer, of course, but I was just ribbing him because I thought that perhaps he was behind the scenes here. But that is not delineated very well. It says that it's a requirement to create a public input board, and it gave a bunch of different sources. And and correct me if I'm wrong, George, we said we are not going to use the police source. We were going to use academic. So wasn't that called out in there? And I was wondering why we did that, and if you could clarify what the thought was.
Chief, we clarify whether you wanted to use the academic or not, but I think also it needs to be independent of council or any town connection, and the whole purpose is to have it independently reviewed. And there may be a consortium of those types of boards that we could avail ourselves of in the county for other agencies doing the same sort of thing. So we're not replicating it here just locally.
That
Chief?
would be awesome. That's kind of where I was going, that if they have it set up already, that we use theirs, that we don't spend all the time to try to do that. And in terms of a community involvement, just putting it in our newsletter is probably enough. Question mark. Is that enough to meet the public engagement requirements?
Well, that, and I think it's going to be important to have a community meeting when we get our hands around exactly what the data is. And as George mentioned, I think it's important not just to hear from me that I've looked at this data and hey, we're fine. I think it's important to have an objective entity with experience look at that and with concur, so we can speak confidently that what we're doing, we are not racial profiling, we are using bias-free policing techniques, and that we're above board in this perspective.
Okay. Any other questions from council members at this time? Any member of the public have any questions for the chief about the response to the grand jury report in relationship to racial profiling? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council. And George, what is our action that we are taking? We're just approving the grand jury response?
That is correct.
Authorizing me to sign the letter?
So
Yes.
move. So
Okay.
move.
Thank you, Councilmember Widmer. Do I have a second? Well, okay, Diana.
I'll second, sorry.
Thank you. Okay, so Anthony, can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Hawkins,
Yes.
DeGolia,
Yes, sorry, I had to unmute.
Widmer,
Aye.
Mayor Lewis.
Thank you. Yes. Okay, so that motion passes. Thank you very much, Chief and Commander Larson, and all of our police force for all the hard work. And I would like to get a sense about what the scope of this reporting is going to be for us. Okay. Maybe
Thank you.
as we move on. So the next item and our last agenda item is item number 23, and it is to review and approve the response to the grand jury report, San Mateo County, California's ground zero for sea level rise. So George?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The grand jury has been busy this year. This one is on sea level rise. And as you remember, there was the creation of the one shoreline special county agency. That's part of the subject of this report. The intent was to foster a discussion related to sea level rise vulnerabilities within the county and county as a whole, and examine the creation in the first 18 months of that resiliency district that was created countywide. The summary provided by the grand jury indicated that San Mateo County was declared the most at risk for sea level rise. The report starts by describing the scale of sea level rise problem and options to address it. The town is not required to analyze the data within the report, but there are 2 best practices and 13 findings and 4 recommendations, which we are required to respond to at least recommendation 1, 2, and 4. Staff put together in concert with the sea level rise district, as well as other staff, as well as our sustainability coordinator, as well as the city clerk, put together the attached response letter, to which we basically agree to most of those findings. Climate change is real, and the recommendations, and provide some next steps for the town. The only change I would suggest we make is we put the mayor's signature at the bottom of this instead of the city manager's. It's supposed to be the mayor that responds.
That was your suggestion? I don't think so, George.
It was your suggestion, but I'm articulating it as part of my report. The only thing I would suggest is that occur. But that concludes the staff report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions to city manager about this? Diana, yes.
Yeah, I have a few background questions. Do we know of any toxic, it talks about toxic sites and how and including underground gasoline type containers and things like that. They said there were a number of them all over the county. Do we know if we have any of these toxic sites within Atherton?
I do not believe we do. We used to have underground gas tanks at the police station. We took those out. I don't think there's anything else around the community.
No commercial. There's no commercial.
No commercial. Cal Water may have some underground water tanks, but that's
the big old estates have them, because my old house in Logan Lane had a gas tank. It was considered a super site cleanup or some sort of, I don't know what the exact verbiage is. So do we have a way of tracking if any of those still exist within our city on the old estates? Because they used to have underwater gas tanks, and most police people just left them.
Underwater, you mean underground?
Underground gas tanks. And this is called out in this report as one of the dangers. So I'm wondering if we have a way of assessing if any of those still exist in our town, and where they are. It'll appear on like a city report. When you buy a house, it'll tell you if it has it.
Yeah, we don't get title reports from all different properties in town, but it could show up on the building permit history for some properties, or it could be in the county permit record. We can look and see if we can find any.
Is there an easy way to get that data? Because that's an important point. That's one that's going to slip through the cracks if we have a bunch of these that we don't know about. So that was one question I had. The second I had is they talked about we share water treatment facilities that are at risk, or are our water treatments at risk, where we get our water from?
Cal Water.
Cal Water.
So is that one of the ones that they're saying is at risk on the shoreline over there?
Robert? Yes.
No, Silicon Valley Clean Water has got a wastewater treatment plant that they process. They have anaerobic digesters to create methane gas, and then they create clean energies from that. So that's the wastewater treatment.
That's right.
Location that's there, and it's out there, in Redwood Shores area all the way.
So it is the one they're talking about.
Yes.
So they identify water treatments that are at such a location that they may in the future cause problems. So I'm trying to identify the ones that we know of, that we share, that we either within our zone or that we share with others. I think it's important for us to know. Because in this thing, it asks us about creating a plan and having sea level rise be in our city plans. So that implies that we know what our things are. And I'm wondering if we have any plan how do we address that? How do we make that plan?
So Diana, Councilmember Hawkins, Public Works Director Robert Ovadia has a comment about that, and maybe we'll answer some of your questions.
Okay, so thank you very much, Madam Mayor. In response to the question, The town is served by 2 sanitary districts. One is the Fair Oaks Sanitary District, which is Councilmember Widmer had indicated has its downstream treatment in Redwood Shores at the Silicon Valley Clean Water. We do not maintain the sewer lines, nor do we maintain the sewer plant itself. And then our other district, the rest of our town is served by the West Bay Sanitary District, and they have their treatment works at the end of Bayfront Bedwell Park. And again, we don't maintain the sewer lines nor the treatment works. So it's the sanitary districts themselves that have to investigate and manage impacts to their facilities from sea level rise and other natural hazards. Our residents contribute to that with paying their sewer rates.
So it's really out of our hands, Diana, and it's, we are not responsible for that.
Yeah, they list a set of community resources that affect us as well. So I was just trying to identify which of the ones they talked about we share. So that is one we share.
And so I'm just going to say that we do not have any part of the town that is directly within the influence area of actual sea level rise. However, sea level rise will affect our residents on a number of fronts. And as indicated, whether it's wastewater treatment works or potential impact to Highway 101 and other things along the bay front. And so that's where we agree with a lot of we agree with the majority of the findings within the grand jury report. It's just a matter of whether or not we are responsible to address them. And so there are three recommendations that we did respond to. And so those are in the attached letter.
Okay.
And one of those includes an analysis as part of our local hazard mitigation plan, which you'll see again in December.
That's R4, right?
Right.
Is that the response number 4? I have a comment on that. I'd like to change the first word. Just a second. I'd like to change the first word in that sentence of town response to R4. It starts out with though, and then there's a comma. I think I'd like to say although, and don't put a comma, although town infrastructure may not be directly impacted by SLR, comma, the town is presently updating its local hazard, et cetera, et cetera. Does that make sense grammatically? To me, it makes better sense than putting though, comma, and then the sentence. So.
Perfect.
Okay.
I think the mayor should be able to edit it before she signs it. She's putting her name on it. So why don't we empower her to give you some edits?
Thank you. Yes, Diana.
Did I read it right that we're offering to put 25,000?
Yes.
Over 3 years? How did we get that number? Because I read
Diana, that has been a negotiated process for the last years and years and years. And so that's
all small cities in San Mateo County give the same amount.
Yeah.
Right. This was a decision we made several years ago.
Yeah.
So
okay, thanks.
That's not for discussion.
Thanks. It was a clarification question.
It's a fair question, and it's the report does say that it's not sufficient and that they're going to need more money, which they said when we approved it several years ago. But the 25,000 is the small city contribution, and there's a greater contribution for the larger cities.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think we're about on year 3 coming up here soon.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So we've been doing it. So if we all have these little clarifying questions, I want to open it to the public for any discussion. Anybody have a comment? Question?
I see none, Mayor.
Okay. Bring it back to council for more discussion. Rick, you look like you want to say something.
I always look like I want to say.
Unless you disappear and we were just looking at the bush.
Well, that's why I disappear. I think it was an excellent report. And I think that the staff's response is a good response, although I think that there could be some rewording.
All right. Okay, you're just poking me now. All right.
Oh, that's because you can see me now.
I know. All right, guys. So I guess what we need is a motion to accept the grand jury
So
response.
moved.
Thank you, Mr. Widmer. Do I get a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. DeGolia.
Councilmember
Anthony,
Hawkins,
one more time.
Yes.
Councilmember DeGolia,
Yes.
Widmer,
I
and Mayor Lewis.
Aye. Thank you very
Aye.
much. That motion
I
passes.
I don't have a report. Motion to adjourn.
Well, somebody else might have a report.
Well,
Yeah.
I hope not. I
Look at,
certainly hope not.
I mean,
I don't have a report after that. I had a report, but no, now I don't.
no. I'll call for a motion to adjourn. Thank you all very much for this meeting. Thank you for all the hard work, the effort that goes into putting these agenda packets together. It does not go unnoticed by me. I really, really appreciate. And you know, Robert Barone, we never get to talk about finances anymore.
So,
I'm looking forward to it. And you know, you gotta have
Well, it's
big-
almost time for mid-year. We'll be looking forward to that, Robert. How about 100-page PowerPoint?
right. So who's going to dress up for
Yeah.
Halloween?
I
there
am.
you go.
I am.
What you going to be?
I am.
A vampire.
And are you going to do that at school? You're going to go.
No,
in-
I've taken this semester off from teaching due to health reasons.
Got it.
However, there are some kids around here that ask that I come by and I visit their house because they have a giant slide and they, from the second floor, they shoot the candy down. So their
Uh-huh.
parents asked us to make sure we come over.
Well, Mary Lou Simpson needed to go all out. I don't know if she's going to do it this year or not. I don't think she did last year, but we'll see. All
Okay.
right. So thank you all. Oh, George has his mask on. He must be ready to go out in public.
I'll see, George.
Talk to Robert. Very
All
much.
right, see you later,
Okay,
guys.
good night, everyone.
Good night.
Hi, thank you.